Okay, gents, this is the last one out of the textbook that we're going to do, which is 811. So let's get on with that. So this one's now your traditional full version, where we are going to, hope you can see that, getting it that small. So we're going to tick off the bank statement, we're going to check last month's reconciliation, update our accounting records, and complete the bank reconciliation. Right, so let's go through the process. So step number 1, identify the bank balances. So go to last month's reconciliation. That's the one we want for our records. Right, so that's going to go right there. And then we go down to the bank statement. We get the one at the end of the month. And that will be the one that goes in here. Balance as per bank statement at the end of the month. Right, so that's the first thing we do. So let's record those two. So opening bank balance is 120, so it doesn't say DR, so that means it's a surplus. So $120. And the balance as per bank statement is 112 DR. Right, so DR means overdraft as per the bank records. So that is DR. So that means that we probably should, in order to be consistent, is to add our unpresented checks, because they will make it worse. Right? Make the overdraft go up, and therefore it will be then less the deposit not yet credited. Right, so we'll add the unpresented checks. When we start with a DR, if we start with a CR, we add deposit not yet credited. Okay. So what we need to do now, having got the two balances identified, which is very, very, very important, we now want to go and do the crossing off of last month's reconciliation. Right, so this is what we had outstanding. So the question is, has that turned up? And of those 3 checks turned up. So you go down to your bank statement and you look for $1,005. Has it been banked? Usually right at the start you'll find it. Yes, it has. And you cross it off. Right, that's a subtotal. That means nothing. So you're not looking for any $400 amounts. Only the one that says deposits not yet credited. Now we go down looking for checks numbers 116 firstly. So can we see checks number 116? Yes, there it is there. So we cross it off there and cross it off there. Check number 123. There it is there for $50. Cross it off. Cross it off. Check number 124. Keep going down. Go back again. And I can't see check number 124. So we're going to circle that. And you know the drill. Straight away, go and put it in over here before we forget. Right, so that will be number 124. For $105. Right? So we don't forget that. So what we've done, we've identified the opening balance for my business records. We've identified the closing balance for the bank statement. We've crossed off the items from last month's reconciliation, which have now appeared on the bank statement. And any circled items we now include on this month's reconciliation. Right, so now we go to the next part, which is the crossing off of the current month's transactions. All right, so we're going to match up the receipts against the deposits over here. So there's your first one, 330, 330. $500 capital contribution. 165 cash fees. $50 commission. $550, can't find it. Then you go, oh, hang on, this is one of those that's over 2 deposits on the one date. So you add them up, $550, that's correct. So I've banked $550, so those 2 amounts add up to that 1 deposit. So just be careful with those. If you can't quite find it, just look at the 2 deposits and add them together, or 3 deposits, and see whether they don't agree to that total. Right, then we go down to 440. There it is there. Bang. 110. Yep, there it is there. Keep going down. We've got 187. Correct, and we're finished. So that means this 135 up here, we need to circle it. And the 154 we need to circle. All right, so don't forget this 154 is your deposit not yet credited. All right, that's your DNC. The bank doesn't know about that. Needs to go over here. We can put that in now. Let's assume it's going to be right down the bottom there. So add deposit not yet credited. So we know about it. The bank doesn't. So we're going to add in that 154. Right, what do we do with the circled 135? The bank knows about it, but we don't. So we need to add it over here. So that is interest, bank statement, $135, and put it into the sundries column. I assume that's the sundries column. Yes, it is. Right, so we've now done the credits. Finished. Identified the deposit not yet credited. Added it in here. Identified the $135 interest. Added it in our accounting records. Right, now we do the same thing for the payments. Now we match these up with the debit column. Got the document number, so it makes it a bit easier doing the payments. So we're looking for document number 127. All right, so 127. Cash purchases. On a quick glance, I can't see it. It's amazing the cash purchases check's not there. Makes me wonder what's going on. Bit dodgy. So we have to circle that. All right, and you know the drill. That is a UP, unpresented check. 128, 143. Check the amounts. Make sure 143 and 143 in both places because we've got to spot any errors. Check number 129 for 500. Check number 130 for 550. Yes, that's there in both places. Check number 131, sorry, for 340. Notice it's for 430. Now we don't circle it, right, because it's been presented. So it's the 430 there, but 340 here. Right, so what we need to do now before we forget is add in the error. So it's an error on check number 131. Right, so we're saying the bank's always correct. So we're saying 340, and the bank is saying, I've hidden it, 430. Right, so the bank is saying 430. So we're short. Right, so we're short $90. So less than 90. So we need another $90 to add into our cash payments. So that'll be the bank statement. Right, so we had 340 here when it should have been 430. So we need to add another $90. And we know what it's for. It's for wages. So you go over to the wages column. All right, so when you've got an error, very important that you cross it off still. There's no point circling it because then you'll think it's an unpresented check. It's clearly been presented because it's here. It's just a different amount, so you need to adjust it and cross it off here as well because it has been presented. But adjust for the error, either up or down. In this case, we need another $90 added. Check number 132 for 528. There it is. Check number 133 for $385. So you've got to read very carefully, make sure the amounts line up. Check number 134 for $77. Correct. Check number 135. We're getting towards the end, so they're unlikely to be there. Right, so I can't see 135, so that is an unpresented check. Check number 136. Don't like the chances of that one being there either. All right, so they're unpresented. And are there any debits that we haven't circled? Yes, there are. That one. And that one. And a dishonoured check. Right, so we've got 3 items we need to add over here. And we've got 3 unpresented checks we've got to include in our bank reconciliation. So let's do the 3 on the bank statement that we don't know about first. All right, so the first one is a service fee. So that is a bit like bank charges. So that will be reference bank statement and for $6. Put it in the sundries column. Let's fix that one up. Jump to the VT Finance, $75. So we'll call that interest, because I'm sure it might say something in the question, but I haven't got it in front of me, but that will do for the time being. BS for $75. Put that into the sundries. And then we have $110. So dis check means dishonoured check. So it can't go on the payments because it was a receipt that's bounced. So we gave someone money and they had the checks come back to us. So it was for $110. All right, so that's probably that one there. All right, check number or cash deposit for $110 on the 24th. So that's now come back as dishonoured. So dishonoured check for $110. So that's minus, right? We're cancelling this one here. That one there is being taken out. So less 100 and less 10. Right, so we've now adjusted our records for the 3 items we didn't know about. So we can now total up the 4 items we didn't know about. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, can't count. So we now total up the receipts. So you add everything, right? Doesn't matter whether it's circled or not, you add the entire column. So 2511 is our receipts. And then you do the same thing for your payments. You add up the entire column. 3024. Put that as a negative. Make the adding easier. Right, so if we add all that up, opening balance plus receipts less payments, that will give me the closing balance. So we have negative 393, so that is another overdraft. Right, current liability. So that's what we have or don't have in our bank account. Let's prove it. Let's see that this also equals 393 overdraft. So our unpresented checks, we've got the one from here, right? The 124 from last month. Now we need to add in number 127. Number 135 and number 136. Right, so these are all unpresented. So 99, 121 and 110. She wrote. Right, so we add all those up. All right, so they will decrease. So I haven't really left myself enough space there. So let's just drag that down one. All right, so if we add that up together, so the opening overdraft, these unpresented checks will make that worse. So we can add those up. Right, so I've got 547 DR, which is overdrawn. We then add the deposit not yet credited, not add, less the deposit not yet credited, because we're now taking it away from the overdraft. So opening balance overdrawn, add the unpresented checks, and then less the deposit not yet credited when you start with an overdraft. So that equals 547 minus the 154, and we end up with 393 overdraft. Overdrawn, right? So whole thing balances 393 overdrawn, 393 overdrawn, or DR, which means overdraft from the bank's point of view, and the whole thing reconciles. Right, and that's it. So now we'll just go on to practice tests.